Welcome to Women on Purpose. My name is Jo, and I am so glad you're here. Have you ever been fine one moment, and then suddenly overwhelmed by emotion the next? A comment, a look, even a certain tone of voice. And just like that, you're flooded with shame, anger, or fear. You might not even know why it hit so hard, but it does. Here's a second question, and maybe a harder one. What do you usually do in those moments? Do you shut down, lash out, go numb, overthink it all night? You're not the only one. So many of us were never taught how to respond, only how to suppress, ignore, or blame ourselves. If you've ever felt like your reactions were too much or that you should be over this by now, I want you to know something important. You are not broken, you're human, and you're not alone. In this video, we're going to talk about what to do when you get triggered. Those moments when your emotions hijack your body, your thoughts start racing, and it feels like everything's happening too fast. I'll walk you through exactly what a trigger is, why it shows up, and how to handle it with more grace, more understanding, and more self-compassion. And I'll share the one simple practice that changed everything for me. This isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about learning to care for yourself in those moments that feel anything but. Because healing doesn't mean you never get triggered. It means you know what to do when you are. So if you're ready to feel more steady, more seen, and more in control, stay with me. Let's get into it. Before we go any further, let me ask you something else. Have you ever reacted so strongly to something small that even you were surprised? Maybe it was someone being late, or not texting back, or a comment that hit way harder than it should have. And later you thought, why did that bother me so much? That's what we're talking about today. Those moments are what we call triggers. But let me say this up front. Being triggered doesn't mean you're overreacting. It doesn't mean you're weak or dramatic. It means something inside you got touched that hasn't fully healed yet. A trigger is simply your nervous system's alarm going off. It's your body saying, I've felt this before, and it wasn't safe. Sometimes it's from a moment you remember. Sometimes it's from something you don't, especially if you've had to survive tough or chaotic environments. And here's the truth. Triggers aren't bad. They're messengers. They point to where you need softness, not shame. Curiosity, not judgment. So, how do we work with them? Instead of fighting them, fearing them, or turning against ourselves, I found a simple framework that helps. I call it the 4 R's. And if you've ever felt hijacked by your emotions, these steps can give you a sense of clarity and control, even in the most overwhelming moments. Let's go through them together. Now, let's walk through the 4 R's. These are the steps I reach for when something catches me off guard emotionally, and they've made all the difference. If you've ever felt swept away by a trigger, this can help bring you back to yourself. First, recognize. This simply means noticing what's happening in the moment. You might feel a tight chest, shallow breathing, heat in your face, or a sudden urge to defend yourself or shut down completely. That's your nervous system sounding the alarm. Just pause and say to yourself, something's been triggered. It's a quiet moment of honesty. You don't have to fix it yet. Just notice. Second, regulate. Once you've recognized that you're triggered, the next step is to help your body feel safe again. That might mean taking a deep breath, placing your hand over your heart, grounding yourself by feeling your feet on the floor or holding on to something solid. You could also try something I love, naming 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you taste. It's a gentle way to come back to the present. Third, reflect. Now that you're feeling a little more grounded, take a moment to ask, what is this really about? What does this moment remind me of? Maybe it's not just about what was said, but the way it was said. Maybe it reminds you of being dismissed, silenced, or misunderstood in the past. You don't need to dig too deep, just notice if the emotion feels familiar. Often, our strongest reactions are tied to older pain. When we realize that, we can meet ourselves with more compassion. And finally, respond. This is where you get to choose what comes next instead of reacting from automatic pain. Maybe you decide to step away and come back to the conversation later. Maybe you gently share how you're feeling. Maybe you don't say anything right away, but you write about it later or speak to someone you trust. Responding isn't about getting it perfect. It's about showing up for yourself in a way that's kind, calm, and true to who you're becoming. The more you practice these 4 steps, the less scary those intense moments will feel. You'll start to trust yourself again. You'll know what to do. And over time, your triggers will become doorways to healing, not spirals into shame. And if that sounds like the kind of growth you're ready for, stay with me. Because we're not done yet. Let me share something that completely changed how I see my own triggers. For a long time, I thought getting triggered meant I was doing something wrong, that I wasn't healed enough, that I should be further along by now. But what I've learned is this: a trigger doesn't mean you're broken. It means something inside you is asking to be seen. Think about that for a second. Instead of seeing your reaction as a setback or failure, what if you saw it as an invitation? An invitation to heal, to listen, and to care for a part of yourself that's still carrying pain. Because that's what triggers really are. They're emotional flare-ups from the past showing up in the present. And they're not here to ruin your day. They're here to help you understand yourself better. When you start to approach your triggers this way, everything shifts. You begin to respond with curiosity instead of shame, gentleness instead of judgment. And over time, you create a relationship with yourself that feels safer, softer, and so much more rooted in self-respect. So the next time something stirs something deep inside you, try asking, what is this trying to show me? What part of me needs attention right now? That one simple question can turn a spiral into a moment of growth. And those moments, repeated over time, build emotional strength in a way that's steady, lasting, and deeply empowering. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to always stay calm. But you can learn to meet yourself with love in the moments you used to abandon yourself. And that's where real healing begins. You made it to the end of this video, and that alone says something important. You care about your healing. You're willing to look inward instead of just reacting. And that kind of courage, it matters. It changes everything. Remember, getting triggered doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means something inside you is still tender, still asking for care. And now, you have tools. You have a way forward. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep showing up for yourself, one moment at a time. If this video helped you feel even a little more understood, I'd love to have you here with me. This space is for women who are learning to respond with grace, to live with more intention, and to build a gentler kind of strength. So if you know someone who could use this message today, feel free to share it with them. And if you'd like to keep having these conversations together, you're warmly invited to subscribe and stay close. Thanks for being here. Take a deep breath. You're doing better than you think. I'll see you in the next video.